What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Beantown Beatdown. And,
This is Matthew. I'm Gabe, coming at you from Beantown.
Yep. And I'm gonna...
Technical difficulties opening the can here.
Yeah. You got nails. But, yeah, we're gonna open up here. We're gonna spend these 10 minutes of the headlines with the passing of Muhammad Ali and Kimbo Slice.
Mm-hmm,
I mean, but
two big names in the fight world cut down, right?
Exactly. But so I mean, I know there's some stuff on UFC, but you can check it out on my blog today. I'll be putting up a blog on that, and I'll be putting up an extra blog on the Orlando Salido versus Francisco Vargas fight that happened the weekend of Ali's death.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot your cold ones here.
Yeah, there we are.
So, really saddened by the passing of Muhammad Ali, and the first man ever to win the heavyweight title 3 times.
Mm-hmm. He was a legend. He was an inspiration. I mean, love him or hate him, you had passionate feelings about him, and my dad never followed as much of that stuff, but he told me time and again how important he was.
Yeah.
Cheers to him.
Cheers to him. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is, it's kind of funny because for the past month or so, I was just thinking about how many of Ali's opponents, his former foes in the ring, are still alive.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because Frazier passed several years ago. Ken Norton passed 2 years ago. Ken Norton Sr. Let's see who else. Henry Cooper, who we fought twice. I mean, he passed away.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the only ones of his true opponents that are still alive are George Foreman, Leon Spinks, Ernie Shavers, Ron Lyle, and also Chuck Webner, of course, who was the inspiration behind the Rocky film.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, we talked about him on The Unsung Heroes of Boxing.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I think Bob Foster. Yeah, he passed away too, as well. And he passed away last year. He was a great fighter and at light heavyweight, and fought Ali and lost.
Right.
But it just made me realize, how much of his opponents are not really around, and now he's passed.
Right.
I mean, plus all those great fights, with Frazier and Norton, and it was just amazing. I mean, my all-time favorite is the Thriller in Manila, because that was one of the most brutal fights in all of boxing. I mean, fighting in that ring in the Philippines, in Manila, 120 degrees, no air conditioning, and on top of that, he's Frazier went into that fight. Actually, fought most of his career with one eye. He was blind in his left eye from from an accident that I think it was like a sparring accident back in '64. So,
okay.
And then you see Frazier's face. I mean, during the fight, he's got the other eye is closing, and it's like he's already blind in one eye. And
right, and then he barely has the other eye.
Exactly.
Fascinating.
Yeah, and then of course with Kimbo, found out yesterday that Kimbo Slice died of a heart attack, and
And we did a memorial post to him as well.
Yeah, we did that on the Facebook, on our Facebook page, and we also did one for Ali.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he turns out that Kimbo Slice died of heart failure. He needed a heart transplant, and now for all you people who might think, well, this might have to do with steroids and all that, let me say this. One, he was only busted for steroids one time, and that was his last fight against Dada.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all, let's not forget, before he became big, before he entered the world of MMA, he did used to smoke little cigars and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I.
Right, it's not conclusive. I mean, you can definitely say that type of stuff is also hazardous to your heart and whatever.
Yeah, everyone now is gonna want to start playing, doctor and all, and say, oh, it was the steroids. You see what happened, enlarged his heart.
We talked about that there might be, the phenomenon of amateur doctor now, but
I mean, yes, your heart can enlarge when you do years and years of steroids, but he only did a steroid one time. I don't know if it was by accident or he meant to do it. But as far as I know, he only did it one time.
Right.
So for all you people out there who want to blame steroids and blah, 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 suck my dick. Okay? Seriously. Suck my dick, and I hope my cum gets stuck in your throat.
That's sexually aggressive, but I like it.
Yeah. And, Kimbo Slice, people, and for those of you who say, like, oh, he was a sideshow attraction, and, okay, yeah, you could say that. But you know what? He made his money. He was a great attraction. He helped the sport go mainstream, coming from fighting in the backyard, that bare-knuckle boxing, to come in the mixed martial arts. I mean, he made money for himself, and also he even starred in some movies too. He actually did a couple movies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, granted they were direct to DVD, but hey, he still made some money.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, of course. By the way, did you ever see any of Kimbo's fights online? His street fights or his?
No, I haven't gotten around to that yet. But given your passion about it, I'm definitely going to.
What about Ali's fights? Have you ever seen his past fights before on like SportsCenter or ESPN or like YouTube or anything like that?
Yeah, I've definitely seen some fights here and there. I mean, obviously there's some that are just completely iconic that will live forever. I mentioned before when we were talking about heroes of boxing and whatever that there's a whole episode of Mad Men based around the fight in Madison Square Gardens at the Frazier.
No, that was the one on Sonny Liston. Remember the second fight with Liston?
With Liston?
Yeah,
I thought it was the iconic photograph though, where he's standing over him.
Yeah, that was Sonny Liston.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's a whole Mad Men episode around that, and and they like plan to go see him live, and some of them end up not, but yeah, it's a whole thing, about about them wanting to get off early and whatever, and Draper ends up at the bar with Peggy, I think, and they're like watching it, and like everyone in the bar is just glued to the TV. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was like one of those things where just the whole world was watching. It seemed like.
Oh yeah, because that was a big rematch at the time, and Sonny Liston at that time was just a heavy hitter. He was like before Mike Tyson, before George Foreman, and just. I mean, he was right up there at that time with Marciano, with Lewis, and Jack Dempsey. Those guys who just throw big shots that just destroy you. So, I mean, and the fact that he, in the first fight, losing to Ali, it was shocking because he quit on his stool, and now he And then when they had the rematch, and of course the Phantom Punch thing,
Right.
but so that's why everybody's eyes were glued on that fight.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And also, Ali's funeral is tomorrow, and we're going to talk more about that next week. And I also have my views and points on, Ali's, the damage that he took over the years, and stuff. So, but rest in peace to both guys, because they really did bring a lot to the fight world.
Exactly.
All right, so now we're going to get into Macho Doesn't Mean This. So,
Okay.
What are we talking about this week, Gabe?
All right, so yeah, I figured we should go to another topic that might seem controversial, but and I'm sure some people will say it's controversial, but actually really needs to be talked about, especially with some more recent unfortunate news lately, and that's the whole idea of a rape culture. Are we in a rape culture? A lot of people would love to say no. I, would hope that we want to say no, and I would hope that that we aren't. But unfortunately, there is evidence to the contrary. There's, obviously many stories about all of this stuff. There's, when we talked about 50 Shades of Grey, as we have done a few times, there was that guy on the college campus that said he was imitating 50 Shades of Grey with this girl. She had, consented to be tied up during sex, but then things got more rough than she was willing to handle, and she was screaming for him to stop, and he wouldn't, and his roommates were actually trying to get in eventually, hearing what was happening in the door, and he was trying to lock the door and keep them out. So that type of stuff is completely unacceptable. And once it gets from, like I said, she consented in the beginning, but once it gets to the point where they are no longer comfortable with it, you have to respect that. There's a certain line, and if you are a respectable person, you do not cross it. And so you might say that it's in that case it's too harsh to call that guy a rapist, but he crossed the line. He crossed the line that leads into rape. Also, there's really there was the story recently. Tell me his name again. The guy
the Stanford thing.
Stanford guy with the curly hair. Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot his name, but he had raped a female, and of course he was drunk too.
Right.
And he only got 6 months in jail, not prison.
Multiple eyewitnesses saw him right there behind the dumpster. Yep.
Yeah, he's not going to prison. He's going to jail.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to be in jail for 6 months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which to the families sound like a complete insult. At least he was convicted, but come on,
Well, yeah, exactly. And it was horrible. They were talking about this on. They were talking about this on Dr. Drew, I didn't see Dr. Drew last night, but they talked about this on Dr. Drew a couple of nights ago.
Yeah.
And, talked about rape culture, rapes on campus. And they said that alcohol has something to do with it. Mm-hmm. Yes, kids do drink, but I don't...
I was about to say, alcohol is going to be on any campus, any young person, party, gathering event, whatever. So I don't agree with the demonization of alcohol, but at the same time, there is the substantial fact proven by numbers that alcohol is the number one date rape drug.
Really? I always thought it was like GHB or Mickey's or...
Well, yeah, those are all used, and those are all really common. But when it comes to the main used source, so a lot of those things are actually put into a drink. So that's alcohol mixed with a harder drug. But a lot of people, if they don't want to use something as intrusive as that, or if or if they don't want to see themselves in a certain light, you know, just pushing more and more alcohol on the girl is a way to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A way that feels cleaner to you, even though it's not, because many people have talked about this. At a certain point of being intoxicated, even just being drunk, you know, you're not able to give consent. You know?
Yeah, exactly. And you know, my thing is, you know, honestly, I don't believe we live in a rape culture. I mean, because I feel like in order for it to be a culture, it has to be like, you know, there has to be it has to be liked upon or something. You know,
so you think it has to be more mainstream, like accepted?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, look, I mean, because also there was exploitation films in the '70s that had rape. You know, there's been like rape porn, so-called rape porn, and there was no discussions on it back then. You know, so why are we having this discussion now?
Well, I mean, that's true, but that's kind of incorrect framing, because, like, you know, this terrible things have happened, you know, throughout history, and we're more aware of them now is one thing I'd say. So I think that that perhaps, I don't know whether or not they're more of a problem now. I would argue that it's possible they're more of a problem now. But even if they're not more of a problem, perhaps they were just as bad of a problem. We just weren't aware of it before. See what I mean? That's kind of the difference. And anyway, the other thing I was going to bring up is, let's see.
Kesha, you know, the story of Kesha.
Yes, there's that. I completely respect Kesha. I think she's actually a member of Mensa. She has an incredibly high IQ. You know, not that that's evidence that she's right, but you know, just putting that out there. One of the reasons I respect her. Not going to comment on that yet, but I'm going to say what I was going to say is, there's video that surfaced of I forget where it was. I think in Louisiana, a frat group in Louisiana. They were out in the streets on their campus, and they were actually chanting something that's pretty horrific, and yet it has become a little bit common on college campuses, which is no means yes, and yes means anal.
Oh yeah, I think I saw.
Heard about that?
Yeah, I think I saw that like last year, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. It came out, I think, last year. And so, anyway, they were chanting that loudly on public streets, and filming it. So, I mean, that might not have been accepted by people that heard it, but I mean, they certainly weren't. They certainly weren't questioned for their motives, and they certainly weren't looked down upon until that video became mainstream. So, that's a problem. That whole idea is a problem, and that's why I'm calling this segment again. Macho doesn't mean this. This is one of the things that that I realized I had to get into with manhood and the idea of macho-ness is there's a poster that says it perfectly. When I was in college on my campus, there's this group of posters.
Oh wait, what college did you go to again?
Humboldt State, way north in California.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, there were these posters that said, "My strength," a guy with holding a girl and whatever, snuggling with her, and it says, "My strength is not for hurting." And I realized that's it. That's what it's about. The problem is men can express strength in very different ways, and we talked about before that there's this whole idea of strength in politics, which has become kind of messed up nowadays. Strength really should be about speaking your mind, but also bringing in broader coalitions, making use of everyone's talents, that type of thing. And then in terms of sexuality, having a mate. Like strength should be about protecting him or her, and should be about keeping bad people out of your life, and
Exactly.
you know what I mean. But it shouldn't be about it shouldn't anyway be about hurting her physically or sexually. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
exactly. Exactly. And I mean, it is sad. Like the rapes that have gone on and
Hmm.
stuff. But I don't think it's a culture. I think it's we just have a lot of crazy people. There are more crazy people out there, and also keep this in mind. There have been some mainstream movies that have had rape and
Hmm. Hmm.
or even on television. There's the American Horror Story series. They've had tons
Yes.
of rape, including the one I the one we talked about.
The one that everyone's talking about, I'm guessing, right?
Oh yeah,
Schmidt, the guy who plays Schmidt on New Girl.
oh yeah, when he got anal raped and
By a demon. Yep.
yeah, by a demon, and then of course there's Law and Order SVU. I mean,
Mhm.
Law and Order SVU has been on since 1999 and then
Right.
2000.
Right.
In fact, Mariska Hargitay, she's actually part of a group that is about helping rape victims and stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah, and that is an important detail that show exists. And that there's this, that there's. I mean, granted, it's a spin-off show, one might say, or it's a show that's that has a bigger umbrella. But the fact that that particular show is only about victims of sexual violence, it says a lot. And it actually was going to be called Sex Crimes, by the way.
It really was.
Yep, yep. That's a trivia fact that I heard.
Holy shit.
Yep. So there's that. But yeah. So I mean, I think that points to the fact that unfortunately it is a bit more of a mainstream problem than you're talking about. I don't think it's just the crazies. I think some people are encouraged the wrong way in this culture, and yeah, it's really not good, and we should take a very hard and honest look at that. The other thing, what was I going to talk about? Well, you have to talk about Bill Cosby, right?
Oh yes, yes.
Yep. So talk about culture. This guy, I adored him. Everyone adored him.
Well, yeah, he was like everybody's dad.
He's everybody's dad. He's everybody's crazy uncle. Yeah, and so he made incredible strides and contributions to our culture, and now we've for the last 2-3 years, whatever it's been, we've been trying to reconcile the fact that he might have played a great dad and been a great role model on TV, but in his actual personal life, there were really terrible things going on, and I think he actually did use drugs to rape women. So that's not acceptable. And he's actually maybe not all of you have heard this, and maybe it's breaking news for some of you that he actually is appearing in court finally for some of this stuff. A lot of it can't be adjudicated because they're
Statute of limitations.
Statute of limitations, yeah, which is really unfortunate. And I actually don't think there should be a statute of limitations on sexual crime.
Oh yeah, exactly.
If there's not one on murder,
Yeah, there isn't one on. Yeah, they don't do. Yeah, in Canada, I'm saying they get it right over there. There's no statutes of limitations when it comes to rape over there in Canada. So.
Exactly. So he is. I forget the exact details, but he is actually appearing in court for some sort of alternate thing related to the case or related to a more recent case that they actually are able to adjudicate, and his reputation is already destroyed, and that's unfortunately that's what needs to happen. That's good, and I hope that he faces a little bit more consequences than he has so far because of all this.
Yeah, exactly. I really hope he does, and and also I have friends that are who are rape victims. I mean, I've known people who are rape victims. Not saying any names, but
I know someone too as well. So.
Yeah, and rape is a hard thing, because it could lead, it does lead to drug addiction and alcohol and.
Well, yeah, psychological problems is what I would say.
Yes.
Whether someone chooses to express whether someone ends up expressing that through addiction, or there's many other ways, that someone could, express or feel, the psychological impact of that, and so it could lead to mental breakdowns and things like that. If not addiction, there's still a bunch of other harm that could happen from it.
Yeah, and I remember we also talked a little bit about this in our in one of our episodes, and I said, because I saw the I Spit on Your Grave films, and about women who have been raped and then they take revenge by killing people and stuff like that. And let me tell you something. I mean, if I'm a judge and I find out that a woman killed a person who had killed people who had raped her, it's like, hey, I let that person go. I mean, what? I don't want that kind of lady in my prison. So, I mean, someone ruined your life psychologically and physically. I mean, I don't want you in my prison.
Or the other way to put it is, you want to have compassion for her and what she's gone through, and to charge them, for something is I mean, again, it is murder, so there's that. But really, people understand, like we say a lot, people understand crimes of passion, and this is more than that. This is revenge, and this is someone who is wronged in a way that a lot of us cannot imagine. So yeah, it's not just that you don't want her in prison; it's also that you don't want to add insult to injury. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, like, I love the I Spit on Your Grave films. I mean, because those films, I mean, it's like, I mean, you see the girls, they get revenge. Especially the girl in the first one. The girl from the first one, she appears in the third one too. I don't know why she didn't appear in the second one, the sequel. But I mean, just the stuff that they do in there. I mean, like, there was even one scene where in the third one, the girl from the first one, like, she goes to a rape group meeting, and her she meets a friend there, and her friend is murdered by her ex-boyfriend. And so she decides to get revenge by there's a scene where she meets him at the bar, and then he slaps her around and then forces her to suck her dick, and he goes, "Oh, just the tip, baby," and just the tip. And as she's sucking it, and all of a sudden the knife comes up, bang, right in the penis, and splits it open. I mean, literally, she splits it open like those hot dogs when you cook a hot dog in the microwave, and it just splits open. It was just like that. Every time I see that, I'm like, oh shit. I gotta cross my legs and all that. I'm like, oh shit.
Oh, yes.
And then she goes,
indeed.
And plus, she actually bit on the tip. She bit on the tip and spits the tip out and goes, "It's okay, baby, just the tip." And I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's a kind of cathartic release for those of us that either have experienced that or haven't experienced that, and think that that is exactly what the man deserves. That's who has done something like that. That's a cathartic release for a lot of us, and I can understand why it's so popular. I had one of my friends who has who he experienced rape. He says that he actually can't watch those movies just because the whole everything that leads up to that part is too heavy, hurt too much pain for him. So I can understand that as well. So yeah, it's a complicated issue. It's a hard issue, and unfortunately, we're having to deal with it more and more and more.
Well, that's why I advocate revenge. You know, you know that old saying, "Revenge is a dish that is best served cold."
Yes.
Bullshit. When it comes to this, revenge should be served hot,
piping
on
hot.
a side of marinara sauce.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, anyway, so I think, you know, so maybe we don't live in a rape culture, but you know, there is certain rape subcultures, and there is some, you know, some aspects of our culture that encourage it, and we have to take a long, hard look and say that should not be acceptable going forward.
Yeah, but you know, I just don't want like filmmakers like Tarantino or Eli Roth or anyone to suffer because of this. You know, because I don't. You know, I mean, because they are artists and you know and stuff like that. So, you know, like let's not open a Pandora's box, because once you open that box, you can't close it again.
True. I would say in terms of the filmmakers that they're doing a good service, and especially Tarantino. I was actually just last night watching something where they were talking about Inglourious Bastards, Django Unchained. Like those are movies that are actually as well a cathartic release, and you know, and something that you know, so many of us wish could have happened at those horrible moments in history. You know what I mean? So I think that's actually a public service for our emotional health that he's doing.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, what time you say you got to be out of work?
I have an alarm set.
Okay, because let's see,
we probably have about 10 minutes left.
Okay, 10 minutes. Okay.
So let's move on then.
Yeah, let's move on to debate here. Do martial arts? Oh, hey, Gabe's roommate.
Sorry, I know.
That's all right. Let's see. Would martial arts actors make for good fighters?
Right.
I'm a little torn on this. I mean, like, you know, Jackie Chan. Well, Jackie Chan. I mean, I don't know if you saw his films, Wheels on Meals, and what's the other? Oh yeah, Dragons Forever, where he fought Benny the Jet Urquidez, who was a kickboxer. I mean, a real life fight. I mean, Benny the Jet would have killed his ass, you know, in the ring.
Right. But these are movies, obviously. So.
Well, yeah, you know, I mean, so, I mean, if Jackie Chan, and plus Jackie Chan today, you know, he has, I heard he has like no cartilage in his knees from all those injuries on doing stunts and stuff like that.
Interesting. So yeah, that's one thing to counteract the whole notion that the film actors just don't know what they're doing and don't actually you know, have the physical, you know, wherewithal, you know, in fighting. I mean, there's something to be said for the fact that they aren't professional fighters, but, you know, like you said, he clearly put his all into this and clearly had, you know, actual injuries from his
well, yeah, exactly.
roles.
I mean, plus he looks like he's about like 155 pounds, I believe, you know, because he's a small guy. You know, but you know, if you were to go up against a guy like Anthony Pettis or like Rafael Dos Anjos, I mean, like one good leg kick, he's gonna be doing movies in a wheelchair.
Good point. But I mean, a lot of martial. We've talked about this before. A lot of martial arts is about like counterbalancing and stuff too. And there are ways that you can, you know, that you can actually counterbalance and perhaps even use it to your advantage, that you are, you know, that you're shorter or, you know, way less than the other person, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, also like there's also Tony Jaa. I mean, Tony Jaa could make a good fighter. I mean, like, did you ever see him in The Protector or the Umbach films or
The Protector a long time ago?
Oh yeah, that was actually The Protector was like the first Tony Jaa film I ever saw. And, you know, he's good at the Muay Thai and the Taekwondo. I mean, he was taught Aikido with Steven Seagal, actually.
There you go.
But, you know, if he could take the time to learn some jiu-jitsu and some wrestling, you know, he would make for a good fighter. You know, exactly. I mean, in fact, I think a dream match would be him and Tito Ortiz.
Interesting. Yeah. So yeah, I would say that they have that yes, they do have the potential, but But yeah, I don't know that they would actually make a good fighter. I'm probably more on the side that they would more than you, but
Yeah. Well, I guess it depends on the actor too. With me, like Chuck Norris. I mean, Chuck Norris is pretty up there in age, but he also has a black belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu from the Machados, and so he could possibly make it in mixed martial arts. And in fact, he's even said that him and in some of his videos, he said that him and Bruce Lee would make it in mixed martial arts today.
Interesting. Well, I mean, obviously he's a legend, and obviously people have
and Chuck Norris was a full contact karate fighter too.
Yeah, no, I mean, people definitely have respect for his ability, and I mean, he's a legend, and there's all the sayings about him, right?
Oh yeah.
what he's so tough that what is it under his beard?
Underneath his beard is not. There's no chin. There's just another
fist. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe that would all go out the window if he actually went into a real fight, but maybe not, because there's obviously a reason that legend, that fan base is built up around him.
Well, yeah, exactly. But also Chuck Norris is very humble too. In fact, one time, because remember in Bruce Lee's Return of the Dragon when Bruce Lee killed him in the film, in the movie.
Okay.
Well, there was Chuck was asked one time, like, "Hey, if it was a fight to the death between you and Bruce, who would win?" And without hesitation, he said Bruce. Yeah, and I believe him too. I mean, Chuck is tough. I mean, in fact, did you ever see Lone Wolf McQuade when he fought David Carradine, the guy from Kung Fu?
Probably not. No.
Oh yeah, I mean, he put a whooping on his ass.
Right.
But I don't think he would have been able to beat Bruce. But I think maybe he couldn't have like a long career in MMA today because he is pretty up there in age. But maybe he can go once around the track.
Once around the track, exactly.
That sort of thing.
Exactly.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
He does some pretty hardcore stunts. And
oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, did you see that? Remember that Super Bowl commercial he did where he was on the two trucks and he was still doing that Van Damme split?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he still got it. Here's a guy, he's like in his 50s, I think he's like in his late 50s now, and, he's in his late 50s, he smokes cigarettes, but he could, Van Damme, would have made it, could still fight. I mean, at his age, he could still go and.
I don't doubt that at all.
Yeah, in fact, I saw pictures of his daughter too, Bianca Brie Van Damme. Let me tell you something. She is mighty fine. Whoa, wait. Yes, we go. Yes, she is. I mean, she's actually starring in movies just like her dad, and I'd be on the lookout for her too. I mean, exactly. She can actually do the Van Damme pose. She can do the Van Damme pose with the leg in the air and stuff. As far as Steven Seagal goes, Seagal a little late in the game for him, and plus most of the martial arts he does is Aikido,
right? And
Aikido doesn't work too well in MMA. I mean, it's like in close trap fighting, and I don't think he'd be able to today or even back in the day, be able to get in there with mixed martial arts fighters.
No, that's probably true.
And,
but I mean, like we were talking about, you can use your lack of stature, being short or whatever it is, against the opponent. A lot of that comes from Aikido, actually, though. So.
Oh, okay. But as far as some fresh blood, like we see now in the martial arts movie scenes, like Scott Adkins. I mean, Scotty Adkins or Jason Statham. I mean, those guys would definitely make for good MMA fighters. I mean, especially Scott Adkins being a black belt in judo and taekwondo, done kickboxing. He studied wushu kung fu, and most of his movies he is doing mixed martial arts, and so is Jason Statham. I mean, those guys would make for some good MMA fighters, and especially Michael Jai White, who's done some mixed martial arts movies himself, like Undisputed 2 and Blood and Bone, and was in Oh yeah, Never Back Down 2 and 3.
Mm-hmm,
So
yeah. So I guess we're kind of agree to disagree that it's kind of a mixed bag. You know what I mean?
yeah. Like I said, I guess it would depend on the actor, but I guess there is one thing we can agree on. I mean, if Bruce Lee, he would definitely make a great mixed martial arts fighter, especially in the early days of the UFC, starting in from 93 to like 97, 98.
Right.
I mean, he would definitely be the world champion. I mean, Royce Gracie would have a little bit of a hard time with him.
Right, totally.
Exactly. And we're going to end it right there.
Yeah.
Go to youtube.com/Bloody Knuckles TV. Also, be on the lookout for our show, Ringside with Matt and Gabe. I'll even talk a little bit about that more in next week's show. And also check out the Facebook page today because I'll be doing some blogs, some updates on some UFC news, and also last week's fight between Orlando Salido and Francisco Vargas from HBO Boxing After Dark.
Okay, great.
So from
Beantown to your town.
It's the Beantown Beatdown saying Vios con Dios.